So how much food can you save with a Harvest Right freeze dryer? I'll tell you guys what, it's a lot. It's a real lot. This stuff goes down in there deep, deep, deep. And you can do just about everything. We haven't come across anything that we haven't really... I take that back. Cherries. We tried doing cherries. They mostly came out, but they're still had a little bit too much moisture in them. So my thought here is to freeze them and then maybe go for a second run. That might work. They say you can't do fatty things in there, but I've noticed if you render the fat on most things before you freeze dry it, it works out just fine. For example, like steaks or pork chops or something like that, when you cook those up, the fat all gets rendered off, and then you're left with a pretty lean product that you can go ahead and freeze dry. This right here, tip for you guys, whenever you go to your local stores, look around if they have this kind of stuff in there. We bought these for $3 a piece, and they're supposed to be 30, so that's a quick way to supplement your frozen food supply. We've found it's better to keep it in the smaller bags, these 1-quart bags. Look at that, prosciutto. These 1/4 bags, or 2-quart bags, one or the other. The gallon bags, I didn't really like them. We ended up chopping those up and doing smaller bags out of them. For some things they work if you got something that you don't want to break up, or if it's something like rice or beans or something you want to store a lot of, that's okay. Shrimp works really good, and fish, I did some blackened ahi tuna. That turned out really good too. Some of the stuff takes up a lot of space though. Carrots. Thing is, but that's a lot of carrots in that bag, so yeah, we got a lot of stuff in here, guys. Ooh, the strawberry yogurt bites. These are the baby's favorite. These things are so good. Just put them in a piping bag and make little dots all over the tray. Put them in the freezer, and then you can scrape them all off into a big ass 2-inch deep pile and freeze dry them. Dried milk. Go and buy this at bulk, and then freeze dry this. Seal it up with vacuum seal. That'll last for a long time. Pros and cons. Pros, it's a nice piece of machinery. It looks good. A lot of people comment on it. It's very cool. You don't throw away food anymore. Throw away food. All this food right here would have been thrown away. So we didn't go out and buy food with the intention of just cooking it and freeze drying it. We would just make dinner. And then when you take our leftovers, put them in the freezer, and when you got enough in the freezer to run a batch, you just run a batch. And that way you know all the food is good because you've already eaten it. You're not spending extra money because it's just the food that you cooked for dinner. It's responsible, and I feel good about it because I'm not wasting food. White cheddar powder. Yeah, this is because I tried to do a big block of sliced cheese, and when it came out it was all crumbly. So instead I did some of them in crumbles and then ground some up into a powder. This could be used for like soups or pasta, cheese sauces, something like that. This is just a really good way to store it. When you vacuum seal them like this, they take up a lot less space. This is the way we're going to be doing it in the future. When we first started, we didn't have the vacuum sealer capability, so they come out like this, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with this. We got oxygen absorbers in the bags, but this is not very good for space. It takes a lot of storage to keep those kind of things packed up. So we'll be definitely moving forwards like this. This is a lot better on space, as you can see. And you'll just be able to get more food per square foot. More pound per box. And that's what we're in it for. So yeah, a couple of tips. Freeze everything before you put it in the freeze dryer. It may sound weird or ridiculous, but it definitely helps. Some things that I've done won't even work unless I freeze them first. And then when I freeze them first, they come out perfect every time. Like blueberries, we tried to do a big batch of fresh fruits, the very first batch we did, and that turned out okay, but the blueberries did not work. So they were kind of like my 3-week struggle. I took those things, the blueberries, and you'd smash them with a hammer a little bit, not like smash them into powder or anything, but you smash them up with a hammer, and that allows cracks for the gases to escape during the sublimation process. Let's go ahead and open up this valve over here. Pull out a tray and take a look. I'm curious to see how the barbecued beef turned out. Ooh, look at that. So I stuck it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer before it ever went on the tray. And yep, she's good to go. Hard as a rock. Probably break that in half and store it in 2 bags. And we got some rice, and this is barbecued pork off the grill. See them grill marks? Isn't that weird? But it's definitely good though. I'm gonna eat it right now. Yep. That's so weird. Definitely tastes like barbecued pork though. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah. This was the spiral cut ham. Nice and dry. Yep. And this was mashed potatoes. Look at that. Powder. These are shrimp. Well, they really shrank a lot bigger than this when we started. It was like styrofoam. Come on, focus. Looks like fiberglass. Weird. Delicious though. And so this is the kind of variety of stuff you're going to want to put in any single batch. You're not going to want to mix sweet with savory. If you do that, it'll turn out, but you might have cross-flavor contamination. Oh, look at the lima beans. Those look weird. Those were cooked and frozen lima beans. Oh yeah, look at the powder. All good. The rice doesn't really powder, but it does break up into single grains. Shoot all across your floor. Perfect. So the way we do it is we run a savory batch and then a batch of vegetables to get rid of any savory stuff. Then we'll run a batch of like rice and potatoes to get rid of any vegetable stuff. And then we run our like desserts or fruit, any of the sweets. I think it is important. People will say, oh, why would you freeze dry a Twinkie? Not for nutritional value. These are going to be for morale. If at any point we got to get into these containers of food, it's not a good day. People are upset, people are going to be hungry, people are going to be depressed. And something like this could turn your day around. So we do stuff like that. I got ice cream sandwiches in here, yogurt bites for the kids. You don't want it to be the worst case scenario if you can help it. And what better way to do that than adding a little bit of whimsy. What else? What can I tell you guys? Clean your freeze dryer after every batch, whether it's something that's oily or if it's just rice and potatoes, you want to wipe out the inside of the container. I remove my seal and clean that in hot soapy water and then let it dry before I go back in while it's running its defrost process. Definitely would suggest the oilless vacuum pump. I'm not sure how much of a hassle or how loud the other one is, but this one is relatively quiet and hassle-free. I haven't had to do anything to it since I plugged it in. That was really awesome. We set this up on a water heater stand, so it's nice and sturdy, stainless steel. Put some blocks under the front just to ensure that it was draining completely. Sometimes if I do liquids in here, I pre-freeze them first outside in my freezer anyway, but you definitely want to have this thing level if you're going to be pouring liquids into it. Otherwise they're just going to slosh out the back and you won't have a good time then. Another tip, always make sure to double check your drain. Actually came out here the day before yesterday and there was a bunch of water built up in here because we gave it a 2-day break. I forgot all about it and it looked kind of nasty, so I had to disconnect this hose and sanitize it before I could reattach it. And I got rid of the little 90-degree elbow with the big drop line that came off of this because it was unnecessary. It's low enough to the ground that I just put this straight into a 5-gallon bucket. Looks like I dropped a piece of food down there. And yeah, pretty cool stuff. Make sure you get a good quality vacuum sealer. We had a cheap one at first and it wouldn't do anything. It would suck the stuff out, but the seals right here would not get hot enough to even temporary seal the bag. And that's unfortunately what you do have to do. You got to temporary seal it in this unit and then you can permanently seal it in this. I'll make a video on this later to show you guys how we get that achieved. It's not a simple process. And if you follow some other advice that's been out there on YouTube, you could end up with a ruined food stash. I'll probably put a title on that one called Emergency Food Storage Information. You guys can check that one out when it's released. And yeah, cool. Thanks, YouTube. Catch you guys again. If you got any questions, leave them down in the comment section. And thanks.